Good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Moving Markets Podcast for Friday, May the 30th, 2025. U.S. stock market has been open for about 30 minutes right now, and not a whole lot happening. The NASDAQ's taking a little bit of a hit this morning, but otherwise things ending the week kind of flat again. I don't. It's kind of a no real good news, no real bad news sort of thing from the market perspective, or maybe it's a kind of a mix of things that are holding things in check. Although the Dow was down a little bit farther and is coming back a little bit. Here's a quick peek at where we're at right now, 30 minutes into trading. Dow Jones Industrial Average down about almost 40, although I show this got a delay on it. I show on my live screen. That's pretty close. That's awfully close, right around 40. S&P down 25. That's almost 0.5%. NASDAQ down 140 and some change, almost 150. That's about 0.75%. I think you have the tale of two tapes this morning, if that's a fair way to say it. On the one hand, we had some good news this morning. The PCE report shows again that inflation is coming down a little bit, and that's a good thing. The numbers were in line with expectation, which is a little bit better than the previous month. You've got consumer personal income up a little bit, and up a little bit more than what was even expected, and the prior month revised to the upside a little bit. So a good PCE report. At the very least, it shows that inflation is not moving in the wrong direction. Maybe we'd like it to be down a little bit more, but that's overall a pretty good report. That's being kind of washed out, if you will, by the news that talks have stalled a little bit. This is from Secretary of Treasury Bessent, that U.S.-China trade talks are a little bit stalled out, and Trump and Xi need to probably meet together. I'm not sure why that hasn't been scheduled or isn't happening yet. I'm sure that behind the scenes they're trying to make that happen, but it hasn't happened so far. And you hope that this is something that gets going pretty soon. China violating the preliminary trade deal. Obviously it's not a shock that kind of news would have a little bit of an effect on the market, a little bit of a negative effect. But the news itself shouldn't be shocking at all. This is what China does and what China has done for decades. They do not honor trade agreements. They do not honor deals with their foreign trading partners. They steal intellectual property. China does not believe in patents. They just don't. When a company has a patent on something and they want to manufacture it or do business in China, China doesn't care about that patent. You turn it over, you give it to them, they replicate it, they take it. It's intellectual property theft. It's estimated that it cost U.S. Somewhere in the neighborhood of $600 billion a year just in the intellectual property theft that China participates in on a regular basis. So those are the two kind of competing things that you've got going on. Some people would argue that the more good news we get on the inflation front, and we've had several months in a row that the news has been pretty good, but the more good news we get on the inflation front, the sooner the Fed should start looking at lowering interest rates and giving that boost to the economy. And I'm sure the Fed, there's a little bit of fear, I would assume, on the part of the Fed that they don't want to do something too quickly, because if they do something too quickly, you could see inflation creep back up. And then they're also very worried about the tariffs and what may happen in the way of inflation with the tariffs. So you got those two competing things going on, and we'll see how it shakes out. Before the day is over, I could see a little momentum being gained. And I believe it or not, with things starting to the downside, I think if there's momentum gained as the day goes on, I think you might see the Dow and the NASDAQ and the S&P, all three. I think you might see them ease into positive territory. I think there's more to be optimistic about right now than to be pessimistic about. There's regulations being slashed. There's companies reporting good earnings. The inflation news is good. And where else are you going to put your money? To me, it kind of comes down to that. Where else are you going to put your money? So I think you could see these indexes actually go positive before the day is over. At least that's my hope. We've got not a lot going on with our open trades. A little bit, a couple of things I'll mention. Nvidia, this is one to keep an eye on. Nvidia trading down today, they ended up not finishing very high yesterday, considering how high they were at one point. And that's why I said I was really watching. You remember I said I was really watching that 145 mark, see if they could get above and stay above 145. And they never got that high yesterday. And now they're pulling back a little bit. This could be profit taking. It could be the bigger issue I was talking about yesterday, which is that in spite of how well their report was, the hype around this company is so unbelievable and so intense that it's still not enough. That it's just, an amazing quarter, blowout numbers, record profit, record revenue, good guidance statement. All of that might still not be enough to satisfy investors. And I could see Nvidia, getting stuck in a little bit of a range right here. If it doesn't drop below 135 today, I would call 135 the new support level and expect it to trade in that range for a little while until something bigger happens with China and with the trade situation. So Nvidia kind of stagnating. Palantir up a little bit today, but they've been a very stagnant stock lately because for every couple of days that Palantir sees movement to the upside, they then see movement to the downside, and that's getting into a very tight range. Look at the way the 5 and 20-day moving average are coming together like that. And the RSI, while it is above the 50 mark, it's just almost dead flat. So it means Palantir could break out either direction pretty strong. With a little push in the right direction, and there's a lot of different things that could cause that. I need to jump over to triple play trades. We've got 3 of them open right now. We've got a long iron condor on Nvidia, Marvell, and Dell. We just talked about Nvidia. We've got to really hope, and none of these trades expire until the end of next week. So there's no panic buttons today. There's no reason to be alarmed that you're not getting big movement. Marvell is getting the most movement of any of the 3, and that movement is to the downside. And already this morning, the price of the stock has traded below our short put strike price, but it's not below it right now. So we need to see that one move down a little bit farther. Dell had a good report, but their movement is pretty tepid, less than 1%, and you really want to see them have a stronger move than this. One of the challenges for Dell is they're already in overbought territory, and that might make people a little nervous to throw more money into it. By the way, the Dow has turned positive now, and the NASDAQ started out almost 150 down when we started this presentation, only down 93 right now. So things are moving back in that direction. I don't know if it'll hold, don't know if it'll stay, but it's good news. So we're going to watch back to Dell and Marvell and Nvidia. All we can do at this point in time is watch them very closely, hope that they get a break in one direction or another. We just need to see we don't care what way. We just need to see some big movement in one direction or the other, either a deeper move down on Marvell, a bigger move to the upside on Dell, and then, like I said, Nvidia, hopefully they break out of that range that they're in, and we'll get some movement the way we want. But collar trade's looking great right now. Our spread trade track record still fantastic for the year, even though we're stalling a little bit on Nvidia. AMD down a little bit today, not a real big deal. And Walmart, we got a little bit of improvement on Walmart. We're going to add some short options to Walmart at the beginning of next week and improve that trade. We'll be in good shape on Walmart before all is said and done. All right, I'm going to wrap up right there for the day. I know it's kind of a short podcast this morning. Have a great weekend. We'll see you back Monday afternoon with news on what's going on with new trades and potential adjustments for the following week. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.